Hi folks, this is Galaxy Z Fold2, Samsung's latest foldable phone, and it comes packed with a lot of power user features, be it just using this front cover screen or the bigger main screen. In this video, let's look at some of the tips and tricks for the Galaxy Z Fold2. The first tip we're going to see is managing your home screens. Because your Z Fold2 comes with the cover screen and the bigger main screen, you can see that you can have two home screen configurations. One for the cover screen that you see here. You can see I have a different wallpaper, a different widget, and a different set of icons that I have placed here in the home screen and in the dock. Now, if I unfold and go to the main screen, you can see this is comprised of a different wallpaper, a different widget, and of course different icons in my dock. So this way you can customize the icons that you want to put up and the apps probably that you would most use in the bigger screen versus this narrow tiny cover screen that you have. This is really a good way to start customizing your Z Fold 2. Once you have configured the home screen, the next thing to go configure is the screen layout and the zoom. So let's see what this is about. When you're using your cover screen and browsing a website, for example, or just opening your Messages app and your phone app, everything seems normal. But as soon as you now unfold and go to the bigger main screen, you can see that some of the apps, like the phone app here, is just rendering it as a full screen app, and same with the Messages app as well. And if you open browser app, you can see it's giving you the same big view of how it is in a mobile app. So for example, if I have to interact with the tabs that I have open here, I have to tabs button, and then you get the similar layout you usually get in a normal phone. But you have a lot of screen that you can use. So to make use of that, Samsung has given you an option that you can set. If you go to your settings, and then if you go to display, you will have an option here called screen layout and zoom. Tap on that and you can see you have the option to see more content at the same time or make content larger so it's easier to see. As well as you can see that you can control the screen zoom level. So if you go to the extreme, the end, you can see that it actually increases the screen zoom. If you go to the lowest level, you can see it decreases the screen zoom. But I prefer to use my Z Fold 2 with this option, see more content at the same time. Now what happens is it adjusts the screen to render more content, and apps that can adapt to this, well, change to this layout. Now if you see your phone app, it actually has used the larger area available on the main screen. So it gives you on one half of the screen all of the call details, and in the other half to view the details of a particular phone call. So for example, you can see what other options I have for that particular phone call. Similarly, if I open my Messages app, you can see that I get the same dual view of one half of the screen where I can see my messages list, and the other half of the screen where I can see the message details. So it's really good way to make use of your larger screen real estate you have in your Z Fold 2's main screen. So similar to how the phone and Messages app adapted to this display, the browser app, that is the Samsung Internet Browser app, also adapts to the display. You can see now, instead of the mobile view that I had previously in the app, I get a desktop-like view or a tablet-like view. You can see that I have my tabs arranged here, and I can also go ahead and tap this plus button to add more tabs, and I can see all of those tabs getting grouped at the tab option here. So that way you can now browse internet just like you would browse on a tablet, and don't feel like you're browsing the internet like you're doing on a phone, because obviously you're using a tablet device here with the Z Fold 2. The next tip we're going to look at is using the multitasking abilities in Z Fold 2. All of the options available in multitasking abilities, like the multi-window tray, where it allows you to open two apps simultaneously, or browsing all of the apps that are available to open in multi-window option, is something that is common across many of the Samsung phones. The multitasking abilities are pretty useful if you're using a larger display like this Z Fold 2 here. Now let's say I'm browsing my tweets and then I quickly want to look at a link that I get in a Twitter, mostly this is what happens. You click on a link and it opens the internet app behind the scenes or your favorite browser that you have set as default, and then the Twitter app goes in the background. So this is where your workflow of working with multiple apps at the same time comes very useful. So for example, now I can have my Twitter app and at the same time I can have my internet app browsing side by side. So all I do is I open the multi-window tray, tap on the internet, and now I get two apps open simultaneously in the Z Fold2 main screen. Now the good thing here is that if I tap on a link, for example here, you can see it's actually opening the link on the browser app that's open on the other side of the screen. That's pretty useful. Now I have my tweet. Also, I have the link that I opened from my tweet. Now, of course, I can do a lot of things here. You can see the divider here in the middle. I can tap on the divider and I get some options here. For example, if I want to switch the sites, I can do that by tapping on this second icon here, and that switches the site. Sometimes you might like to have your main screen on the right and then the one that is not being used a lot on the left. So it depends on your workflow. And if you are someone that uses this workflow a lot of times, that is, browsing your tweet and looking at the internet at the same time, you can create something called app pair. So if you tap the third icon, you will see that it actually creates an app pair and puts it in your quick tray in the multi-window tray option. So now what I can do is I can go to my home and then I can browse other things, and then when I'm back and want to use my Twitter, instead of opening the Twitter app and then the internet app, I can just tap on this quick option that it got created, and then now it opens both the internet app and the Twitter app simultaneously every time I tap on that app pair. Sometimes you might want to change the app that you're using here. So maybe I want to use Reddit along with my browser. So to do that, I have several options. So first option is I can open my multi-window tray here. I can quickly search for the Reddit app, and then I can tap and hold, and then you can see now I get the option to open in pop-up view. I can drop here to open on this side of the screen. I can also drop here to open on this side of the screen. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to drop it here, and now I have my browser app as well as the Reddit app browsing at the same time. Now there's also other way to do this, but it's limited to one side of the screen, which is the left half of the screen. When you're on the app on the right side of the screen, swipe from the bottom up on the right side, and you can see that now it actually gives me to open or select an app for the left half of the screen. You can see the home screen here, and you can see my Reddit app still working here. So I can go ahead and browse the app I want to open. In this case, let's say we quickly open the internet app, and now it adjusts the screen to actually accommodate that multi-window app. There is one other useful tip if you're using the Samsung internet app. And the Samsung internet app, when you're browsing, especially when you're wanting to compare, let's say, two different options. For example, here I have an option that I want to look at. So I want to open the link. Now if I tap on the link, it actually opens up on the same page, right? That's great. But I want to look at some of the other options available so I don't have to go and navigate away from this page. So to do that, I can tap and hold, and then you will get options to open in new tab, open in background tab. But the really useful option is open in other window. And once I open in other window, you can see it actually opens up in the multi-window mode. Now I have my page that I was browsing here that didn't actually navigate, and I also have the link that I opened up in a new window coming up on the other half of the screen. So that way you can actually look and compare or browse two links at the same time. Another interesting multitasking option that I found very useful when using my Z Fold2 is the pop-up view. Now you can open the apps in different modes. So one was the multi-window mode, the side-by-side view, and the other one is the pop-up view. So for example, I can open Twitter. So if I drag and then pull up to my main screen, you can see it says drag here for pop-up view. So I can have the app in the pop-up view. Now I can go back and again open another app. For example, let's open Flickr. I'm going to open it again in the pop-up view. So you can see here that I have the options to open multiple apps in pop-up view. So again, I'm opening Spotify app here. Now I can tap and hold the blue bar here and then basically move the app around, right? So I can move to any part of my screen. But the cool thing here is that I can tap on the home screen, like swipe up from the bottom, and then you can see that now it actually holds a list of apps that are open in the pop-up view. So I can move that around and place it in a prominent position in my screen. Now I can tap on that and I can quickly open Flickr. I can browse all of the things quickly, again swipe up from the bottom, and then they go back to the list of apps open up in the pop-up view. Now if I actually fold my screen and open up to my home screen here in the cover screen, you can see I still have that option and I can still open up the Flickr app, browse all of the photos, or I can actually open my Twitter app and browse that as well. So some really good options here if you are looking to keep some apps open all the time, and then you just move from your cover screen to your main screen, and you can even get a bigger view of the same apps that you browse. So this view is particularly useful in Z Fold 2 for me personally, while I haven't used this pop-up view with other Samsung phones like the Note series or the S20 series. There are some features and capabilities that makes using two apps simultaneously very useful. So for example, let me open my gallery and SMS app here. So you can see that I have a set of photos here and my SMS app on the right side of the screen. Now, usually if you want to add, you can tap on the photos icon and then you can select, but here you actually get all of the photos that you have, right? But this really simple way is you can browse all of your photos on the left half of the screen, and once you select the photos you want to share, I can just tap and hold, and you can see that I'm able to drag that image, and then I can bring it to my SMS app and just place it down here. So that way I can now quickly go back and actually browse my photos in a much larger view, and then I can drag and drop them here. So this way I can now quickly send images in an SMS conversation. Another example to showcase the drag and drop capability is using the Internet app and the OneNote app. So OneNote is a really good app to take notes. So one of the things I like is to take notes on some of the weekend hikes that I want to go. So you can see here on the left side of the screen I have my internet browser app talking about some of the hike that I can take or the options available for me, and on the right side of the screen I have my OneNote page open where I can actually put the information about the hikes that I want to go. So for example, here is one of the hikes I like to go. The Olympic Peninsula is a great place. So now what I can do is I can actually select all the text here, and then I can just tap and hold, and you can see now the text actually moves around. So I can just drop it over here in my OneNote page. So you can see how I can quickly select a text and drop it over here. Now I can also drop a picture. So for example, I can select again with the picture, and then I can tap and hold, and then I can again drop it here on my page. And you can see that actually worked. So the OneNote page now has all of the information that I want to use for my weekend hike. So I don't have to rely on browser or the internet. I can just go ahead, open my OneNote app and look at all the information I just copied from my internet to my OneNote page for the weekend hikes. So really useful way if you are very familiar with this drag and drop to use that capability and use it for all of the things you want to do and be productive. Now, the cover screen in Z Fold 2 allows you to browse apps quickly, right? And when you want to move to a better, bigger experience, you can unfold it, and then the main screen continues with the app that you had open in your cover screen. But at the same time, let's say you're browsing your internet in your main screen, and then you quickly want to switch to your cover screen. You can see that the app does not continue here. Instead, the phone gets locked, right? And if I unlock, I actually don't have that app, so I've lost that continuity. So if you want to continue the apps on the cover screen from your main screen, you can do that by setting an option. So if you go to settings and then go to display, and then at the bottom you can see there is an option to continue apps on cover screen. So tap on that, and then here you can see you can choose which apps you want to continue using on the cover screen. So when you close your phone, so here most of the apps are disabled, but you can see I have enabled some apps like the messages app, the phone app, and the Twitter app as well. So let's look at how this behaves. So now here I am using the Twitter app in my main screen, and when I actually close my phone, you can see that actually continues in my cover screen. It's very useful, right? So you can choose which apps you want to have this behavior rather than having it for every other app, because sometimes, this might not be the best in the situation where you are in. So I choose to select only the apps that I want to continue on the cover screen. Here is another tip that I found very useful when using Z Fold 2 that might not be as popular as you might think, is using Bixby. So Bixby has the option to create Bixby routines. So the Bixby routines is available in the Bixby routines app, and then it basically allows you to create some automation for your phone. So when in a particular time, like in the morning, you can have a routine that does certain things when you wake up, right? So for example, here, if it's wake up time, set the always on display to a particular option, change the lock screen shortcuts, and even play a Spotify playlist that you want to play when you wake up, right? So things like this you can automate. And one of the things they have the option to automate is depending on the folding status of your phone. So right now you can see my phone is closed, and then when I open, my phone is open, and then when I actually leave it in this mode, which is halfway around, is called the flex mode, right? So based on these three different folding status, you can use Bixby routines to automate some of the things. So for example, what I've done here is when my folding status is closed, let's look at that example. So I've said when the folding status is completely closed, make the screen orientation to portrait, right? So this cover screen is so narrow that probably it doesn't make sense to use it in landscape mode. So if you set that to auto, sometimes some apps take advantage of that and then switch to landscape mode. So I wanted to avoid that, and to do that, what I did was I built a routine, and then with this routine you can see that I can now say when the folding status is completely closed, set the screen orientation to portrait. So look at this example now. Here I have the auto rotate option. So now I can actually close my screen, go to my cover screen, and if you check the rotate option, it's actually set to portrait here, right? So that way now I can browse apps on the cover screen so that I don't have to, especially when I switch my screen to landscape mode, maybe while watching a video, doesn't affect the other apps that I want to open in the landscape mode or in the portrait mode. So they'll all be in this portrait mode. Now similarly, when I open my screen, I can do some tasks. So you can see here, I actually have the edge lighting effect, and then it does set some of the other options. So let's look at what those options are. Now again, if you want to open the Bixby Routines app, it should be in your app list. So tap on that, and you can see I have the folding status opened routine running here. So if I tap on that, you can see what are those actions. So if the folding status is completely open, I set the screen timeout to 1 minute, well, to preserve battery, of course, and then set the always on display to show when I tap on it, right? So you can see display mode, tap to show, and then rotate the screen to portrait, because that's exactly what I want to be in when I open my phone. And then I also, do the edge lighting effect once, so I can choose which effect I want to show when I open the phone. Pretty cool. So this way you can do several things based on your workflow you have with your Z Fold 2. Now, similarly, when you put your phone in flex mode, I can have an Bixby routine for that too. So when the folding status is partially folded, so that's called the flex mode. Now I can do the same things like, I'm setting always on display to show always, and then rotate the screen to landscape, because when I'm using in flex mode, that's what makes sense. And then I do another edge lighting effect once. So here's how it looks. So I'm going to put this phone in flex mode, and then that basically now gives me the edge lighting here. And then you should see that when I actually lock my screen, the always on display comes automatically and shows that. So really good view if you want to use this as a clock stand, and you can do that with the Bixby routine automatically. So far we have seen tips using the options available in your Z Fold 2. For this next tip, we're going to use an app called Good Lock. Usually using an app doesn't improve a lot of your basic experience using the smartphone, but in this case it does. So if you install the Good Lock app from the Galaxy Store, which if you go to the Galaxy Store app, and then if you search for the app Good Lock, you should get the Good Lock app here, and then you can install that app. Now once you install that app, it basically becomes an app to install other apps. So but gives you a list of apps available. So some of the apps that I really like is the Home Up and Multi-Star app. These two apps specifically, I find they improve the experience for your Z Fold 2. So for example, let me tap on the Home Up app. Here you can see that I have some options to set on the home screen, on the folder, backup and restore. But the really option I like is on the home screen. So if you tap on the home screen, you can see that you can actually have more options to set for the home screen grid. And if you tap on that, you can see here I can set up to 7x7. So that's really useful, right, for this larger screen. So I'm going to apply that. And similarly for app screen grid, I can also go up to 7x7. So again, making use of that larger screen display I have with my Z Fold 2. Now, one of the useful thing I like in this app is setting the favorites max count. The favorites are nothing but the apps on your dock in your home screen. So usually this is 8. Now I'm going to increase to 12. So now if I go back to my dock, you can see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? That was the default setup. So I can actually go ahead and now bring more apps here. So there you go, the Casa app. And then I'm going to put that over here. So I can open my Flickr app as well. So I'm going to put that here. I'm going to open my Amazon app. I'm going to put that there as well. And let's see, can I put another app here? Let's put contacts. I'm going to browse that as well. And now you can see I have hit the 12 app limit on the dock, and now it allows me to create a folder. But now you get the option here, right? Now you're using the Z Fold 2 main screen to its full potential. You have lots of apps that you can put now in the dock, up to 12, and then you can make it really useful. And if you still want apps that you regularly use, you can use the multi-window tray and then pin them in the quick option here as well, right? So this is why I find the Home Up app in the Good Lock option very useful. The next app I find very useful in the Good Lock is the Multi-Star app. So with this app, you can add some additional capabilities to the multi-window experience in your Z Fold 2. Again, these are very useful particularly in Z Fold 2 than in any other Samsung smartphone, even though you can set these options, right? So the two options I really like is enable multi-window to all apps and multi-window screen zoom. So this is very well illustrated with some examples. One of the apps that doesn't support multi-window option is YouTube Studio. So this is one of the very useful apps I use being a YouTube creator, right? And then to illustrate this, if you actually go to the recent apps list and then tap on the YouTube Studio app icon, you can see that I don't have the option to open in split screen view. Whereas if I go ahead and let's say tap on the Galaxy Store, app, you can see that I have options to open in split screen view, pop-up view, and even change app aspect ratio. So a lot of good options here. But when I tap on the YouTube Studio app, it actually has only the option to change aspect ratio, but does not have the option to open in the multi-window mode. So that's where the Good Lock app comes into play. So the multi-star app that we have in the Good Lock option, if you tap on that, you can see the two options I had, right? Enable multi-window to all apps and multi-window screen zoom. So let's look at the first option, enable multi-window to all apps. Now, once I enable this, it will ask me to restart my phone. Well, you have to do this, but once I restart, now you will be able to see that I can put that YouTube Studio app to open in multi-window mode, that is especially in split screen view. So let's go ahead, restart, and then come back and see how the YouTube Studio app behaves. So now we are back. Let's go look at the YouTube Studio app. It's still open in my recent app list. Now if I hold on the YouTube Studio icon, you can see I do get the option to open in split screen view, open in pop-up view. Now that's great. So now I have the option to open all of the apps, even though they don't support it from the app perspective, still open in the split screen view. So those were some of the best tips and tricks for the Galaxy Z Fold 2. If you like some of the tips and tricks, or if you have any other tip that I missed in this video, do leave a comment. As always, if you enjoyed my video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.